I wanted to share this fantastic interview with Ambassador 223, Paul Paget. I think you'll love it. Well, I'm very pleased to have our guest this week as Paul Paget, old dear friend, Ambassador 223 of our 11,300 plus ambassadors around the world. And, it's funny because I've been saying his name for a lot because I had a radio show in Los Angeles. And they said, because it was my first radio show, they say, don't say the word P because it pops on mic. And so I love to break rules. So I would always say, I'm possibly and practically the most positive person on the planet. If my name was Paul Paget, that would even be better.
That's
So, Paul,
classic.
welcome to the show. My first question to all my guests are because this is the complete guide to happiness. And that's what we're on the planet for, to be happy. I know you're spreading a lot of happiness, but how do you define happiness?
First off, by waking up every day and using the word fantastic. So I'm smiling right out of the gate and thanking the powers that be that I got to wake up another day. But as I've always said, I live every single day to do one thing and one thing only, and that's to inspire at least one person to aspire to their best selves and pass on love, peace, happiness. And that pretty much defines it.
Well, I mean, making people happy makes me happy. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. It's I think it's the key to we live in more than ever a very polluted, ugly world, and people are scared. And it's unfortunate that the worst emotion that an individual can have is called uncertainty. And COVID proved that to the T, because the government's created uncertainty and nobody knew where they stood. They locked us up in a cage in our own, they created in our own homes, our own prisons. And so then everybody comes out and all this rhetoric and stuff back and forth on governmental stuff that everybody feels is doing whatever, stance they want to take. That's, their own opinions, and that's fine. But bottom line is that while all of that's going on, I think people like you, John Paul DeJoria, JP, as we know him, we work to spread peace, love, happiness, and have the ability to at least give a portal for individuals to break away from being the hamster on the wheel, running and running and running and feeling like they're getting nowhere. That I think, we're the ambassadors to stick the stick in the wheel and pull them off and let them see that there is another way, that happiness still does exist. And it has to be something self-willed. They've got to want to pursue it and make the decision to do it. It can't be, we can put all these videos and podcasts and all that out there, but until somebody makes a decision that they're done with all the ugly and the things that are attached to us by other people and circumstances, that we wake up ultimately into the world we desire to have. And we have to speak it, we have to live it.
Well, it's funny you brought up COVID because that was the straw for me that broke the camel's back. When the government told me I had to sit in my house, put on a mask, get quarantined, and wash my hands 20 times, I said, hell no. And I set out on a journey. It's been 5 years now, traveling by myself to show the world how great it is and how fantastic it is and how kind it is. And I'm still on that journey. I'm in Antigua, Guatemala, as you know. Last time we saw each other was in Belize. You invited me to the island there. Had a fantastic time there. So basically, we're going to talk. You asked me earlier, what are we going to talk about? What's the show about? It's about life, love, and the pursuit of happiness, and all the things that make you happy. Now, I know what made you happy because when we first met, I think you're married to a bad, crazy woman. And I'm sure the day you got divorced was a very happy day.
Man, it's interesting how evolution works because we never get married to get divorced, and those are some of our happier moments that we, at least in that time frame, we have those dreams and desires that we think are aligning with another. And I think the bigger thing in it that I've learned outside of what other people's decisions are as you're growing, because I was married in my 20s and well over 20 years married, is that if a couple doesn't work on the things that where you're at in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, all evolve you into different spaces. And that's why I've always said I think that the biggest thing for any couple is to have counseling. because you can discover those things and also discovering the differences to support the other in their personal journey. Because we come in as individuals to any relationship, business and or personal, and it gets muddled up because we don't pull back and look at all of the variables that are happening that we're duck bobbing and weaving through every day, and we just let, as I call it, it's the bowling ball in the head. You keep stuffing stuff in the garage, I mean, excuse me, in the closet, and then all of a sudden you open the door and get clacked on the head with it when you could have organized it before you ever put it in there. And that's one of the things I have to say I'm real proud of. I've been on the front end journey when you started this, from being out on your amazing yacht. I watched the video with you and John Paul DeJoria, my friend too, an executive producer of projects that I'm doing, is that he's a true ambassador of peace, happiness, and love. But I remember your yacht out there and several big events you had, and Marina Del Rey is just, a special place in the world. And we could see JP's, Chris Kraft sitting out there, and you were his captain, and you introduced me to a lot of amazing people out there. But I remember as you were working into this space and you didn't have the support of your wife, your ex-wife, and everybody, it's funny because I always look at something. Can you imagine how many times Alexander Graham Bell or Edison or Tesla or Ford got called crazy and insane? Because I can only imagine Edison's wife screaming and yelling at him to come to bed, just lick your fingers and put the candle out. We got light. What are you thinking of? What are you doing? And 10,000 bulbs later, we now have Edison Electric. We now have light on us. And so I've always supported the element. I believe that you got to get a little crazy to do crazy things that end up evolving. I could only imagine Alexander Graham Bell, tired of sticking a can to his ear and having yarn to his neighbor to see if they could talk together. And then all of a sudden, this isn't going to work. I'm going to create a phone. And every single thing we do now is because of that one crazy moment. And I watched you, and which I've always supported it because I believe that what you're doing is probably one of the strongest ambassadorships that this world is in dire need of. Dr. Fantastic is a perfect name for you. You're not Monty anymore. You're Dr. Fantastic. And this Be Fantastic movement is legendary. And we all, we kind of went, all my motivational stuff and things I was doing and saving the planet or thinking I was, that you went off to, where was it? In Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh, or what was that called?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And so then all of a sudden, our friend Klaus that did the movie What About Love with Andy Garcia and Sharon Stone had a stroke. And so you went there and you helped him immensely. He might have died over there without you. And then you guys contacting me, and thankfully, we got to the island of Belize. It's been a very interesting journey. You went from camels to bikinis, and then you
All
were
between.
and you look at how, even I remember one of the things that was amazing on the island is that it didn't matter where you were or what you were doing. You hit the ground like burning the boats behind you and charging the beach with no way back. And I remember you started painting the be kind signs with all these messages, and you're pounding them on every. I mean, it was amazing. You painting all of these and putting them out. They were like direction signs to peace, love, and happiness.
Over
And
300 of them on the
yeah,
island.
and prompting people to get out of that mode, whatever they're in, to escape, to see that sign put so many smiles on people's faces. But then you look at it, just like going back to the statement on crazy, is that all the people that came against you. I remember some of the people that were out there tearing them off the poles, and it's insane.
Yeah.
But it shows and proves that, first off, we're not going to make everybody happy. Second off, some people are just meant to be miserable, want to stay miserable, and they don't want anybody to elevate beyond it. And that was a very solid sign of our times, regardless of being out on an island in the middle of this marble that we're on, floating in space. An amazing, beautiful area. But you evolve that, and then boom, you were off on your next journey. Bam, you go to the mainland, you're in Guatemala. And you've just been tearing it up. It's been beyond amazing watching. And then we got kind of separated in that space for that moment. And then I'm back, and I've had to shut a lot down because of the cartel and different threats of Central America. We won't go there, but I had to get out of a space that was beyond negative. It doesn't fit into the space of positiveness. It doesn't fit into the message. I don't want to fight for my life every day. What I want to do is share the possibility of a possibility that maybe if you thought a little different, that you used the word fantastic, you smiled at people, that you looked in the mirror and smiled at yourself, and yes, I can do this. This is the best day of my life, the only day that I've got left. You might not. Well, I think about it. I wake up every morning thanking God that I took a breath today, because of how many people I could imagine went to sleep last night that didn't wake back up.
Well,
And the
everything on
chance
the top side of the grass is fantastic in my book.
it is. And then we started evolving. I've been praying really hard on a lot of different things, and I reached out to you. The message was clear,
Well,
and so I
before I
hit you.
forget,
Yeah,
we talk about a lot of things we're gonna do.
please.
I do
Sorry.
have a little bit of This is never scripted. All my 2,100 videos on
Oh
my
yeah.
Be Fantastic never scripted. But I want to address crazy because when I left my wife 5 years ago when COVID hit, because I'm a rule breaker. She said you're crazy, and maybe a lot of people think I'm crazy. But I'm gonna go with a guy named Steve Jobs, which many of you people listening might have heard of, a pretty famous guy. And he said people who are crazy enough to think that they can make a difference in the world are the ones that do.
That's right.
And I got 11,300 people, and a lot of them bless me. They say that it's changed their life. Their
Yeah.
kids who are taking the Global Kindness Pledge that are in a
Uh-huh.
lot of schools around the world are
Yes.
seeing, they're seeing, the parents are seeing tangible results from saying, I am fantastic. You are fantastic. We are fantastic. It's really powerful. I'm very proud of that. And getting back to because my memory is shit. It really is. I'm glad you reminded me about the kind signs. I didn't forget about those, but it's a tourist attraction there, and they're everywhere.
Mhm.
And we made it.
Yes.
And we have what if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you give him a fishing pole, he eats for life. And as you know, there's a guy making money on the island making those signs now, which is fantastic. And I
Amazing.
think all the poor people, indigenous tribes can, with just the natural resources, because they paint wall paintings in eons ago. Without paint, they use the natural elements of the earth. So you can make a
Yes.
be kind sign out of trash, which I call
Yep.
eco art, and
Yep.
sell it and feed your family. So that's our fishing pole for people. But
Gold.
so I did want to go back and because I know so many people, and unfortunately, people get mad that I don't call them. Well, I have 11,000 friends in just this
Yeah.
group that aren't even ambassadors. These are the people that are just
Yes.
ambassadors, right? And they get mad I don't call. I said I can't call 11,000 people a day. But and I don't I oh they always ask me, how did you meet him? So I want you to remind me and the audience watching how we became friends, how we met. I'm curious. I have no idea.
Well, it was interesting because I was with LJT National Geographic. They're headed up as chief of marine operations there in Beverly Hills, and Diana Kelly was my publicist. And you had met her at some gala event. And it's a little blurry to me at that point because we were all in this big blur. And I was working with the
Life's a
wildlife way.
blur.
Yeah, Wildlife Way Station. I don't live a lot in the past. I'm all about the present. Yeah, as I say, yesterday's a canceled check, tomorrow's a promissory note, and today is the only thing we've got. It's cash. And so, bottom line is that you are having some little gala on your yacht. And we went out there. Diana said, "Go out there. Let me meet. I want you to meet this guy." You were Monty Cook, the third at that point, and until you evolutionized to Dr. Fantastic, and that was it. What's crazy? I've got it on film. I filmed it.
Really?
I
I
have,
do remember filming one of my cooking episodes, I think it was, on your house in Long Beach.
yes, we'll get to that.
And I still hold you to that hamburger because you're a pilot, and I'm a pilot as well. But you
yes.
promised me a burger in Catalina, which I'm holding you till.
Hey, I love the $100 hamburger run. You don't have to twist my arm too much on that. But no, it was pretty amazing. You had some really influential entities on there. A little fuzzy on some of the names, but I know that if we went back and looked at the film, it'd be bam, bam, bam. I was looking around to see if I still had all that, and I do.
Oh, cool.
And oh yeah, I never delete anything. My archives are strong. But
I love hearing about myself sometimes
sure, of course you
because I don't
need
have a
to
memory for it.
because it's an evolution that is the history of what is now becoming a massive movement in this universe. Because everything is the universe. It's frequency. You know, you clap and I just rippled the universe. It's and so that's why your frequency's attaching. And so anyway, Diana Kelly was the front end there in Marina Del Rey on your big gigantic yacht you had out there, and you were going and blowing, and I met your wife, and I just connected. We connected immediately, and then I think it was we went to JP's Chris Craft because you were his boat captain at that time, and I think you were slinging caviar, and
Yeah.
we were over there eating caviar and sitting around with JP. And so, yeah, that was the front end. It was really an amazing time because there was a lot of work happening to make the planet better, to help animals. I was working with the Wildlife Way Station with LJT and National Geographic, and we had all the big stars that were coming out there, Pamela Anderson and Paris Hilton and Dane Cook. And it was just a wonderful entity after entity that were working with us to save those animals. Over, I believe it was 450 different exotic animals that Martine Collette had been working since 1976 to save these animals. Very selfless individual, and that tied a lot of our entities together also. So it was one hell of a kickstart to be sitting here right now, and you're where you're at, and this huge global run. And you know what I really respect, probably more than anything, is not many people have it in them to do this, is you never looked back. You had such a mission, you have such a mission that I don't know if I can name anybody other than like JP, um, or a Jacques Cousteau, entities like that. A Captain Paul Watson, which I got to work with the Genesis Awards, with Melanie Griffith's mother that has Shambhala. And she was the lead actress in The Birds and worked with Hitchcock, and so we got to work in some amazing arenas in that field. But it's interesting that the 7 degrees of separation. It's amazing how we're all connected, and we are not by any means anything but connected. That's why frequency. That's why you grab the phone and, oh my God, my mom's on the phone. Hey, I was just calling somebody, and boom, I was just getting
Yeah,
ready to call
you
you.
think of someone and they call you. It's the most amazing thing. We're all connected. It's just really quite astounding.
It doesn't matter where you are because we're frequency, and frequency is what creates everything and connects everything. That's what I love about nature. That's like the work I've done with great whites and whatnot. Everybody thought it was crazy to go out of the cage and confront my fears in that, because Jaws ruined me in 76 when my stepdad took me to see it. And I grew up in Oklahoma. All I saw was crappy streams and rivers, and I never saw the ocean until I was in my 30s, and I was terrified of it. And I had one major fear, and that was great whites. I went out there, and lo and behold, that's what started the National Geographic stuff. But the bigger thing is that it changed everything, because when that first great white comes, and I've got that film, you want to share that sometime, is that I wasn't terrified. It came by. That was a 18 foot, 4,000 pound great white. And it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And it wasn't asking for anything. It wasn't a threat to me. And by the third day, I was out of the cage on the back of that yacht. And we were in Guadalupe. That's a very famous island, by the way. That's the movie King Kong with Fay Ray back in '33. That was the island they brought King Kong down. So 77 inhabitants on that island. But it's the biggest gathering of great whites that are docile. It's
Mhm.
not a feeding frenzy. And that altered everything for me because I got to really see harmony and peace and creatures that they're not asking for anything but love. And that's what you spread. You help keep me centered in it. That's why when I was really reaching out in meditation and then I was wondering what the heck's going on because the last time I saw you was about a year ago when you and Klaus got to the island in Belize, and then you were back on your tour, and so I finally, it just evolved. I don't have to really push it. I just knew, and I reached out, and bam, here we back are, and
Well,
in
everything
bigger
happens as it should when it should. Now, I
always.
remember, I mean, you're a great humanitarian and environmentalist, and you've done a lot of things like for the sharks and what have you. I remember on the island, you were saving the reefs and the fish. What is that fish called? Lionfish?
Yes, well, I
Not
wasn't
saving them,
saving
trying to
them.
kill
We
them,
were,
actually.
yeah. The biggest threat that's not talked about in the world is the proliferation of the lionfish that are annihilating coral
It's
reefs.
interesting because nobody will eat their eggs, so they're growing exponentially, I guess.
Let's have some lionfish caviar, man. And
Exactly.
so just can't, get a handle on it because, we've still only studied 5% of our oceans. We know more about the surface of Mars than we know about our own planet. And it's really tragic. But the bigger things now, because, it went from sharks. Then, as I was traveling the world and seeing all these different, areas, I was chasing the decimation of 120 to 150 million sharks a year by shark fin soup. Is that I saw all the trash and I got to see the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And you've spent time in Hawaii, and it annihilates the island there. And
Can
so
I
I
stop you
got,
for a second? I wanted you to
yeah.
tell me about the Great Patch because I talk about that a lot when the third commitment, of course, of our mission: be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be kind to our planet, is being accountable for your actions and not littering. Tell me what you saw with that patch because I've never seen it personally, and it must be something astounding.
Twice the size of Texas,
Twice the
about
size. Wow.
yes. If you've ever driven across Texas,
Yeah.
it's daunting.
And you're in
Go
Texas
there,
now.
go there and turn back. Yeah. So
Right.
the big thing to it is that all of the animals that I saw caught in long lines, because I learned at that point that China and Japan in international waters. That's why Captain Paul Watson and our teams that we had the chance to work with for Whale Wars and the Sea Shepherd, which I was there and filmed the day and interviewed JP when he wrote the $100 million check to save 400 vaquita dolphins. And I was the lead on that. And it was one of the greatest moments I'd ever seen in philanthropy. And so, anyway, when I saw the Great Pacific Garbage Patch and the amount of animals that were trapped in these long lines, because they'll drop these pirates will drop these long lines and the whales, the dolphins, the turtles, the stray fish, they get caught in these lines because all they pull out is the sharks cut the fins off and drop them in the water to drown.
Your shark
And
fin soup that costs like $1,000 a bowl or some shit
it's
like that.
$100 a bowl with no vitamin content. It's not, they say it's an aphrodisiac and it is strictly for the wealthy of some game they've
It's
made up
horrible. It's a
just like eating,
travesty.
yeah, like a tiger penis is going to do something for you the way that they do that.
Right.
Thank God. Same with ivory on elephants. So bottom
And that's
line
and that's
was,
commitment number two. Be kind to all creatures as well as humans. And
that's
that's
right.
not kindness. I mean, that's horrible. I hate hearing things like that. I knew about
It,
it. I hate it.
Yeah, it ripped my soul out. And then I started traveling the world on spreading the word about the importance of not accepting plastics. And this was really the front end before even all the microplastics were being talked about. There wasn't a lot of studies about it. It was shut up. The plastic companies that make all the bags and all of this stuff that's getting out there, uh, they're covered by the government, and you can end up dead and killed over fighting these companies. There's a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of stories out there. This is serious stuff. You're talking trillions of dollars because they changed all of our life. I think back when I grew up, we had Corningware and we had all of these. We ate off of plates, and
Well, the milk
if
was delivered in a glass jug and then filled
yes,
up again and delivered back.
sitting on your porch, the milkman would
Exactly.
drop it off.
Delivered.
Crazy.
It's a
And
crazy world.
so,
That's why I call it the insanity of humanity, what's going on today. And I'm upset
yeah.
about it.
I'm beyond upset. That's why we work extensively on. I think now, so it went from sharks. And I knew I wasn't going to get anywhere with that, and I identified a lot. But then the plastics, and then I started traveling the world and hitting the third world countries was a wake up call because they have no resources whatsoever to collect any of that. They don't have landfills to manage it. Their governments are already wiping out those populations of people while they're wealthy, and a lot of that is, and I've got film footage of it, it's just tragic. And then I realized I wasn't going to get anywhere with that. It was a great eye opener. And then as I started seeing the plastics on the coral reef systems, and we started watching the decimation of coral reef systems, and then the global warming effect that, half a degree inversion is what killed 90% of the Great Barrier Reef. And so we knew we were in trouble. And the second largest reef, which you're not far from and you benefit from every day breathing that air, is the Mesoamerican reef. That's the second largest reef in the world that provides the oxygen through Central America and Northern America. If we lose it, we're in trouble. And that goes up around the boot up to Key Largo in Florida, which I did tons of work. And that's where we started planting. That's where a lot of the nurseries are. That are now harvesting and putting corals back, which unfortunately, tragically, over this last year and a half, the temperatures, if anybody remembers, got up 3 to 4 degrees higher in the oceans. I mean, down to the point people couldn't get in the water because it was a higher temperature than your body temperature, and it can make you very,
It's causing
very.
the hurricanes too.
Yes, it is. And so not only did the hurricanes wipe out all of our planted reefs, which was in the millions,
Oh,
but here was the worst part. And I've got it on film. The coral bleaching started at an extreme pace because the exoskeleton and the algae and all of that, the symbiotic elements were being annihilated. And we actually saw that trailing out of Florida, which was 100% decimation, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know, and it's recovering, but we've got a lot of trouble on the planet, and we don't have enough time to go through that. But we saw it in Belize, Ambergris Key. I've got it on film. The temperatures did rise, and we started seeing mass bleaching. It has calmed down, but it's still a massive threat. But then, while I was in those modes, is that the proliferation of the lionfish. One lionfish produces 12 million eggs a year, and two lionfish can wipe out a whole coral pod in 5 to 6 weeks, and they move to the next one. They have. Do you know what's crazy, Doctor Fantastic, is that um, in areas of the world that they're indigenous to it is that the groupers and the sharks actually eat them. And that's why it's not out of balance in Indonesia and all of that. So we would shoot these things and stick them literally in the mouth like a baby getting fed Gerber, to see if it'd eat it. And they don't. They don't naturally attack the lionfish here in Northern America. And it's the oddest thing that there's a invisible division line in the ocean that they just will not eat those creatures. And so now we're fine. This is what's tragic is that normally we see them at 40 to 60 to 70 feet, but we've now had, submarines, small, two-man subs that have now seen them at 1,000 to 2,000 feet. And humans can't break the barrier of 120 feet without the specialized training and equipment. It's just too expensive. We'll never get ahead of it. And so we started working with EarthX, Trammel Crow, and some of the things that we were starting to identify, but it's just too far gone and we won't get ahead of it. And then what we started noticing was the insane level of microplastics. Microplastics was found in the Mariana Trench at 26,000 feet.
No
Uh,
way, that deep. I thought it
26,000.
floated. I thought plastic floated. I guess it doesn't.
No,
Well, the
sir.
break, what you're talking about, Michael, is the breaking down of a plastic bottle. It actually
Yeah,
breaks down.
it's photo degradation. So that's why I always tell people if you're going to go to the store, be mindful. Take your green bags. If you, the thing is they're now charging for your plastic bags, and you
Yep.
think, 20, 25 cents isn't much, but what it's doing, because my second book, it was Squirrelsville, is about beach cleanup, and the mistaken element of what a plastic bag looks like is a jellyfish in the water and the creatures that are getting stuck. I've pulled straws out of turtles that were dying and couldn't breathe, that got them jammed up their noses, milk rings stuck around their neck, and they grow up and it's just a collar pinching them. And so the responsibility of all human beings is to not accept plastic as best as you can. And the
Well,
areas
I
this
haven't shopped in America in many years, but I remember paper or plastic, and paper is not any better either because they're decimating the forest, which is our oxygen. So I mean,
it
you
is, well,
can't. But bringing your own bag, that makes all the sense in the world.
it changes it. So most people don't realize, because everybody thinks that trees are where all of our oxygen's coming from. That's an incorrect statement.
Oh,
80% of our oxygen comes from coral reefs, from the carbon dioxide, how the transfer, and we can do another video on this because
okay.
it's a great
Learn
educational
something new
piece.
every day.
And so 80% of our oxygen comes from coral reefs from the ocean,
Wow.
and 20% comes from our trees. And here's the sad part is that we can't plant trees fast enough to grow fast enough to get ahead of that side of it. But the
Right.
other side is that we're able to plant coral reef systems way faster.
Okay.
And that's the critical point of where we're at right now. But they're now finding in Parkinson's disease patients that there's a possibility they're finding microplastics now in the brain of these humans. We're now ingesting it in foods we're eating that are so small of particles that they're getting clogged up in areas of our body. We can't even see them when we're eating. It's that microscopic. And that's called photodegradation.
Well,
And
I'm
so,
curious about that because I know that if it's a foreign object in the body, maybe it has to be a certain size, but scar tissue forms around anything foreign in your body to protect
yes.
your body. But I guess it's too small for that to happen.
No, and they're finding clogged arteries. The studies now are so high in this field that we are absorbing, all of us. You've got microplastics in you. I do too. Every human watching this, we all now have been infected with microplastics. And it's unfortunate. There's no turn back, and there's no. We're just now seeing this happen. How do you can't get it out of your body? These are foreign pieces of plastic at such a microscopic level; it's beyond words. And so that's why, I always say, we got a lot against us, but the one thing we can have is humanity and peace and love and happiness, and smiling at people. And just like I was watching the video with you and JP, and he mentioned your name, and then you corrected him. I'm, no longer that. I'm Dr. Fantastic, uh, and he smiled when you caught him and said, "Okay, you didn't smile when you said Monty, but you said fantastic," and all of a sudden you're smiling. And it was
Yeah.
great because it proves a theory of the words that come out of your mouth are what you become, and how your behavior is and how you're going to feel. You're either blossoming or you're caught in that endless loop, and you never
They
see the
always say
sun.
that Black Lives Matter. I say words matter. The words you say. Because I used to have four commitments, and the last one was say kind words. Because kind words are therapeutic. They're loving. They're giving. They're kindness. They're right. But the say kind words is you don't say kind words to your computer typically. You say it to people and your animals, right? So
Yeah.
that's commitment too. Be kind to all others and the creatures. So, and I know humans can't remember four things because they're the dumbest creatures on
Yes.
the planet, and we can't argue that. Nobody can argue that. If they're arguing that, they're living under a rock.
That's
So
right.
three commitments people and children can remember when the first time they're introduced to it. They don't have to be introduced to it twice. Three commitments solve all mankind's problems. So that's the past, a little bit of the present. Let's talk about why you called me the other day, which you're a
Very
celebrated,
important.
award-winning author and now a publishing house. Because I've got a book that I'm gonna, hopefully that you'll publish. But you have a thing called Squirrelsville, because as you know, the children are our future. And that's why the Global Kindness Pledge is so important in schools, and you're in schools. So it was perfect timing. Haven't heard from you in a year and a half, I guess it's been, for you to call me because the Be Fantastic every day, worldkindnesslist.com. People are joining every single day from all over the world. You should go, everybody check it out, worldkindnesslist.com. You can join, you can see your name on the list. You don't have to have your phone number, or we don't care about your phone number or your email. Just follow the three commandments and we'll have a better world. But now that you called, we have some synergy with marrying Squirrelsville, with already a successful track record in schools, with Dr. Fantastic, the bee, because bees, as you know, are the most important insect on the planet. And you told me the other day that squirrels are extremely important to the environment and to humanity. So take it away about our new project, Squirrelsville, and the bee.
Well, I have to kind of go in reverse just a tad bit. This
Okay.
ties me back because as a pilot and working on disasters, because I was a disaster relief contractor for years, and I've worked on fires, floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, and tsunamis. And fires, as we now know, are beyond. There's been so much tragedy, and that's a whole nother show within itself. But the first book, Squirrelsville, hold that thought, is about the work I've done in the Angeles National Forest, and it's welcome to the amazing forest town of Squirrelsville. And so that was fire safety and some of the things coming together, community, and it's all about integrity and wonderful things in that space. Well, I had a book company, a very large one out of New York, that was wanting to publish my books. And I shut it down because they were going to try to take control of specific things that is not allowable, because what I had done between the sharks, the plastics, the coral reefs, and this nightmare that's unfolding in front of us, you know what? I just Mission Earth. So back in 2016, John Paul DeJoria came on as my executive producer for that film because I'd been all over the world with LJT Net Geo and a lot of footage, a lot of stuff going on, and we were going to do an educational deal. And I just, you know what? It burned up everything. We had people that had ripped us off. We had lost stuff through COVID. We had lost traction in it. But we also, people just don't feel like they can get ahead of it. People feel overwhelmed that what can one person do to make this all better with the stuff you're talking about? So I realized I was going the wrong direction. I started looking at JP with his Peace, Love, Happiness Foundation and what we could do to synergize that space, and then what you're doing and trifecta it and have mass impact. And so it hit me. I had an epiphany. Is that Squirrelsville 2 was about the ocean, day at Squirrelsville, a day at the beach. Both books went #1 in one day. Best new
Okay.
release, bestseller. And so that was wonderful, because the bigger part to that was it's not that I needed those accolades. I don't care about that. It's that it was reaching the children, because it works from 3 to 6. Well, anybody that knows psychology and the spaces of how we learn is our biggest learning spot as children is 3 to 6. Once you're past 6, some of those things have cemented in of what that little human's going to become later. And so we got to get them in the moldable years. And our educational systems have completely failed for a
Broken,
ton of
completely
it.
broken.
It's gone. And so we have put together, I've got, it's not just the books. We've got full on school programs, English, math, science, marine biology, tying music in, mind mapping, things that are getting these kids off these stupid games and getting them onto things that are more grounded to this planet and to the human beings and to the animals, period. And so the third book, because I released, I shut down that company in New York that wanted to publish the books, because I'm doing 26 books in 13 years, 2 books a year. Bottom line is that um, we built Dreams to Realities Publishing. It's a spin-off of my Dreams to Realities company, and boom, first two books, nail it. It was interesting though, because all my work in neurolinguistic programming of how to get specific words, because I had an ad agency and I worked, if you can get somebody to go buy an $80,000 truck off of a 30-second commercial, you can get them to do about anything. And so this was written not just for the kids, because the parents that are reading it to the younger kid before the kid's reading it themselves has all of the tools that the adult needs to learn, but it also the kids start holding the parents accountable for their bad behaviors, because you can't get adults to change their behaviors. I learned that by traveling the world. It makes it tough. So I figured, with where we're at, we're already sold down the river pretty much. Is that our next generation we've got to work on. So any of the work I'm now doing, period, across the board, is from 3 to 6 year olds, and train our next generation, get them mindful. In fact, that
But it makes
generation
a lot of
is
sense to remind the elders, like I'm teaching kindness to the children, and at the same time reminding everyone else that greed should be put a little bit aside and do a little kindness out there.
well said. And so our editors and everybody was coming together, and we had several other ideas on for the third book. And because everything's about evolution of education, of building a well-rounded human being, integrity, keeping your word, because I always say, if you can't keep your word to yourself, how can you keep your word to somebody else? And so teaching some of those wonderful spaces, what an actual handshake means,
Well,
looking people
commitment
in.
one, love yourself, be kind to yourself. That's the
Has
most
to be.
important.
Can't
That's
love
the
somebody
first
else.
and foremost. It's the hardest, most important commitment in life. No,
It
you,
is.
because you come first, as I said today in one of my quotes.
Yep. And that helps you to be fantastic. And so the bottom line is that I've been stirring on this, to be honest, about, well, the second book came out May of last year. And so we've done a run. I was actually supposed to release another book by December. And we had to save ourselves out of Central America. We had a lot going on, and I had to worry about my family's safety. So I put the book on the back burner. Plus, I wasn't inspired with the other stories I was coming
Let
up
me,
with.
let me break in another time. Your family. Who introduced you to your love of your life?
You. Yeah.
Very
It
proud of
just
that.
goes to show you, on a Be Fantastic movement around the world. I got you off of a camel, got you onto a sandbar on an island, and bam, you deliver the love of my life. And so from Dr. Fantastic, I mean, it's one of the greatest stories, and we're still together and still thriving. And so bottom line is that the other night I was going through a bunch of other things that I was working on, and it hit me with a ton of bricks. And I said, I know what the third book is. It's the Bee Fantastic. The squirrels meet the bees, and it just started coming together and flowing. So that's why I called you immediately, to get the Bee Fantastic movement tied to Squirrelsville and teaching the kindness and this revolution that you're working on. But also the bigger thing is that the Mission Earth film that I was doing with John Paul DeJoria, I had to put that on the back burner, because I don't believe that that's sitting in a movie theater or putting that on Amazon's not going to reach the entities and the message and the things that need to be given to the world properly. I don't want to just be known for that. I'm an educator. I'm a servant to the world, to the creatures of the world, to the people of the world, and to my maker. Excuse me.
It's the children. That's the most important. That's our future.
It's our job as elders.
Period.
Our job as elders, outside of everything, is to make sure we elevate these children to give them the best chance in a very disrupted world that we have.
So
And
basically, a lot of people have been saying, "Who's your target audience?" I'm saying anyone who has a brain should be kind, but then it's focused now more on the children. It has to be the
that's
children.
it. Yeah, and I knew JP would absolutely, and I've not even shared it with him. I'm surprising him. I called you first, and you and I are going to deliver that baby. But the bigger part to that is that I've now, and you sent me some amazing content, by the way. I congratulate you on that, because it actually, I started working on the dialogue in it the last 2 days, and what you sent me really leveled the playing field. And then when I watched JP's interview with you, that was powerful. And so now it's shaping that space. You're going to become a squirrel. So the bee, Dr. Fantastic, becomes obviously a key element and now comes together because the bees are the pollinator, the life force of this planet. It's critical, and they're in trouble. They're in serious trouble. And so now, all of our forests are being cut down. Our oceans are in serious trouble. Our environment's in trouble, and we've got to pull everybody together. It's going to have some humans in it, it'll have the animals, it all combines. But I knew unequivocally that within the message that you have, that's legendary, and what JP does on such a grand level, thank God, well, out of all of us, he's got enough income to be able to drive even beyond what we can think of. And so hopefully that can catapult the Be Fantastic brand and what your message is, his message, and what Squirrelsville is doing, and get this out on a mass scale that we've proven that it works.
In
It's
every
an ed
language too, I might add.
Yeah, I'm already in 17 countries with it. So and then hearing that JP's in over 130, now we can go after that. He's already there, and that's part
And
of,
I'm in
he
146.
exactly. So it's massive. My company's operated in 100, and the book now is starting to merge into those spaces. But the bottom line of it is now Squirrelsville meets Be Fantastic meets Peace, Love, and Happiness Foundation, and now all the kits, because a baby squirrel's called kits, a kit, and so we'll have JP is a professor of the Peace, Love, and Harmony School. And the bees are going to come together with the squirrels and create harmony in space and flourish the vegetation and food and everything that happens because of it. And that's the next phase. I've already turning you into a squirrel. JP's turning into a
B,
squirrel.
B, B.
Well,
Are we
you're going
supposed
to be a
to?
bee. Yeah, you're going to be a bee, but I've got a spin off of some things I'll share with you later, which is cute.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm going to bring your old Monty self back as a squirrel. You're
Okay.
coming back from the dead.
Well,
It's
I
alive.
like nuts, and a lot of people say I'm nuts, so it's apropos.
No, it's classic because what you were is, Monty, that I think that's an important facet to bring in because you've evolutionized now. And that was a great, that was the front end of everything of your life. And so we're going to pull that in. So we'll discuss that more. But Squirrelsville 3 is getting ready to be fantastic.
That's great news. Yeah, it's I mean it's like I said before, everything happens in life as it should, when it should, and I never stress anything. I know it's all going to work out, and I try
Yes.
to encourage people just to always think positive because it's called manifestation. And the Global
Woo.
Kindness Pledge, I'm going to have you repeat, try to do it for all my guests, the Global Kindness Pledge. I don't know if you memorized it yet or not, but if you repeat after me, and if
Hang
the
on a sec.
audience,
Let me think about that. Let's see. You said it was the principles that
well,
was
the three commitments, you know that. Everyone knows
yeah,
that.
yeah. And so learning the principles of kindness from children, unconditional acceptance, empathy of compassion, selflessness and sharing, forgiveness and understanding, kindness without expectation, is solid. So where were you going with that?
Okay, it's called the Global Kindness Pledge, and again,
Please.
it's showing tangible results because it's a manifestation of kindness. And basically,
Excellent.
it goes like this, and I want you to repeat after me,
I
and I hope
will.
the audience listening is going to repeat after me because you're going to feel it, and it'll blow your mind. It's
Excellent.
like this: I pledge to be kind to and love myself.
I pledge to be kind to and love myself.
I pledge to be kind to and strive to love all others and the creatures.
Okay, I pledge. Here, say that again. I
I
pledge
pledge
to
to be
be
kind
kind to
to
myself
and strive to
and
love all
strive
others
to
and the
love
creatures.
all others and the creatures.
I pledge to be kind to, love, and respect our Mother Earth.
I pledge to be kind to and love our Mother Earth.
We are all fantastic.
We are all fantastic.
And then I have the children, if it's in a classroom setting, point to their friend and say, "You are fantastic."
You are fantastic. One of the things I'm working on in Austin, which is interesting,
Oh,
is
wait a
that
minute.
yeah,
Not over
sorry, go
yet.
ahead. Yes,
The last line is, "I am fantastic."
I am fantastic.
If you say that
Definitely.
every day out loud, just those three words, it manifests into an amazing transformation of positivity, kindness, and love.
Well, you can feel the endorphins release on that, and
Exactly. Well,
it's
that's what
pretty crazy.
fantastic does. It forces you
Yes,
to smile, which releases the endorphins, the dopamine, and the serotonin, which
yes,
release stress, anxiety, and depression. 70%
yes,
of people are depressed. It makes you look
absolutely.
and feel fantastic. It's so
Exactly.
simple, and it's like sliced bread. And I'm happy I hope when everyone steals it from me, steal the idea, steal fantastic. It's open source. Take it and run with it, please, everyone.
Well, the thing that we're going to do is we're going to put it out in mass publication. And so every child that's reading these books, you go on Amazon or Kindle and you look at the reactions, the comments on the people that got the book. It's inspiring the adults to be better, and they're going to be inspired to be better to the children of the world and to not get caught in this endless loop of work, 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 and not focus on the time that our children need out there in the world to become that we've got to inspire them to aspire to their best selves. And it
Yeah.
starts with a message like that. It is our job, it is our commitment. And that's why I made the decision to can the Mission Earth film. It just was not going, and that was many years. That was filming since 2009. I've spent a fortune of money. JP's invested, and we wouldn't be able to get the traction because of the upset world we have, all the wars, all this stuff going on with our governments. It's just not going to reach the right people, let alone Hollywood's being dismantled right now with tariffs and whatnot. We're just not going to reach the countries that we need to through that medium. It's not a smart business move, and it's not a smart educational move to top that. And so I'm really excited about it. We're gonna
I want you to do
drive
me a
this.
favor, off camera today or
Yeah.
tomorrow when you have a minute, 30 seconds. Do a selfie of the pledge.
Okay.
Okay. And I want Jordan to do a selfie. I asked her this years ago. She never did because I
We'll
love
do
when
it.
beautiful women do the pledge. And if you can get your son to do the pledge, that'd be better. They all go on worldkindnesslist.com, all the pledges. And we've got JP did the pledge.
World World Kindness what?
Worldkindnesslist.com. It's in all your
List.
text.
And
That's where
it's on
everyone can
there?
join there in 10 seconds. You just put your first name only, because I believe the world should be addressed by their first name. So you
Okay.
just put your first name, your birth city, your country, and if you're a student or your profession. We don't need your WhatsApp unless you want to be part of the revolution or your email. We just need your
Yes.
first name, city, country, and student and profession. 20 seconds, not even 20 seconds it takes and you get automatically listed on the list, on the top of the list at 11,380, whatever it is today. Every minute, people are joining from around the world. You can see
Yes.
countries and countries and countries and countries and cities you never heard of and names you never heard of because we're really big in Africa. Africa loves, and Nigeria especially. We got 40 cities in Nigeria that are following our mission. And the schools are reciting the pledges. We get the whole classes, by the way, on video as well, reciting the pledge. And that's exciting. All the pledges go on to worldkindnesslist.com, where you can join, be part of the revolution, the kindness revolution. There's a saying. They say nothing in life is free. That's been my biggest dilemma over these last 5 years because it's free.
Yes.
It's my gift to the world. Well,
Yes.
along with that saying, nothing in life is free. There's always a first time for everything. The
Got that right.
foundation for World Harmony is behind this.
Yes.
It's free. It will always be free. It's not about money, politics, or religion. It's about kindness. We need to teach the children that in 10, 15, 20 years, those children will grow up and they're going to have it so ingrained in their head that they won't steal, fight, lie, cheat, rape, go to war, and do all the horrible things that man does. And I'm so happy that you called because this is the next step in the ladder to making the world a kinder place, to
Well,
saving the planet from the insanity of humanity.
it's fact.
Insane, and you know it more than most.
Yeah, I've been on the front line. I was very fortunate in my career. And, and here's the thing most people don't understand is that I never accepted a dime for any of that work.
That's
I
great.
I I paid and managed that through my nonprofit, Planetary Heroes. It was Rockers for Wildlife on the front end when I was with Net Geo. And we had the radio show there, LA Talk Radio, Rockers for Wildlife. And then that spawned into Planetary Heroes. And so it really is truly amazing that we've gone on this crusade that is
Evolution.
explode. It is. It's
And kindness
crazy.
is such an amazing thing. The poor people I've encountered around the world, a lot of them will say, the uneducated and the poor, I combine both of those, they'll say, and I tell them about this movement, this revolution, they'll actually say, what's in it for me? And I made many videos addressing that. I said, well, you're going
Yeah.
to look better, feel better, live longer, be happier, be more successful, and make the world a better place. But if that's not enough, I can't help you.
Yeah, what else? I mean, that's where it all comes together. And that's, as I've always said, I'll change my view on money when I see a Brinks money truck following a hearse funeral procession.
Exactly.
Uh, it's just not going to happen. Well, I think there's a lot to do, and we're burning the boats behind us to charge the beach and take this thing and run with it. By the way, the book is in the library. Both books are in the Library of Congress. So the third book, the Be Fantastic Moment, JP's probably already in with all of his stuff, but it will be in the Library of Congress. And so it will let it be written, let it be done. And that way, the bigger thing is it's about legacy. My legacy are your legacy, JP's, people that are out there doing wonderful things. Captain Paul Watson with Sea Shepherd. It's legacy. We're going to leave behind things that will think about it. If one kid, well, you think about somebody that becomes a president, you don't see that when they're a kid and they're running around
And
snot
speaking
nosed.
of legacy, my book, my autobiography, is called Lester's Legacy.
Yes,
We need
I
to leave
love
a
it.
legacy. We need to be
It
kind.
is.
That's a legacy in its own right,
It is. And it's to be able to know that somewhere it's written and it's logged, it's done. It's not just going to fall to the wayside because one person was saying it, but then it starts fading away because it's not being pushed by the next generation.
Things can't fade anymore because, I mean, in 100 years, no one's going to remember me or you. Nobody, not even our family members in 100
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
But this video will outlive us and our children and our children's children. That's the great thing
Yeah.
about there's one thing to be said for technology because they had cave paintings that have been destroyed. They've had books, fantastic libraries in history that have been destroyed. There's 142 million books that have been written, on the planet. I don't know if you know that or not.
Wow. No, that's new
I've read them all too,
information.
by the way.
That's cute. That's like a Matrix download.
Actually, speaking of that AI has read all the books. The quantum
Dude,
computers have read every book. They
it's
learned from every
crazy.
book. They're going to be conscious. They're going to, and
Yes.
unfortunately, they might be detrimental to humankind. Unfortunately, but I
Yeah,
don't want
that's
to end on a bad note. We got to end
yeah.
on a good note that we're going to teach the world about kindness. The squirrels are kind. I don't think see again. I'm going to say the humans are the dumbest and the most cruel creatures on the planet. I don't think squirrels kill themselves. Do they?
No, no, they don't. No.
Humans do.
I
Dolphins
Yeah,
don't. I mean,
no.
we're it's an insanity of humanity. And together we have the same mindset. We came together at the right time. I put in a lot of I lived like a pauper. You see me in my wealth days. I lived as a pauper for the last 5 years because I would eat noodles for months on end in Egypt so I could afford the pamphlets to distribute to all the people about kindness, right? And the
Yes.
police literally thought I was a spy. I'm not kidding you. And
Oh my
because they
God.
said, what person goes around not asking for money and spreads kindness? It doesn't make any sense. They couldn't get their heads wrapped around it. But I'm going to prove to the world that a person without education, because I didn't go to college, I think you did, and without any money can do something fantastic for the planet.
If you can't be kind to yourself, how can you be kind to others?
Well,
You know?
commitment number one. It's the most hardest and most important commitment in life. Because you've
Yes.
been on an airplane, they say if the oxygen mask drops, put it on first, then help others.
Yes. Can't
Because if
help
it
somebody
falls down
else
the
if you're
line, you can't give
asphyxiated.
service to all the things that you've done or are going to do. Jordan, your son, your business, your God, your country. You have to be alive and happy and well. Have to
Yes,
be.
it's critical. And what's team stand for? And that's what we're getting ready to do a full court press on. Together, everybody achieves more. We're all connected. We all got to do our part.
There's no I
Don't
in team.
don't accept plastic bags. And think about this. This is a mind bender. Next time you're out and about, look at a restaurant you're at and see how many straws are delivered just in that moment you're there on every single table that goes in a trash can. And then look at that on a grand scale, the whole planet. That
Well,
alone, don't accept straws, don't
I was
accept
at COP
plastic.
27. I spoke at COP 27 2 years ago. They just had COP 29 in UAE, I think, excuse me. And I've seen straws made out of stone, straws made out of banana peels, and they're making straws out of a lot of trash.
Bamboo.
Because I'm an eco artist, I take trash
Ah,
and I make beautiful art. But they're
of
taking
course.
trash nowadays and making fantastic things out of it.
It's
I mean,
golden.
amazing things out of it.
Carry your own water bottle, everybody. Not
Yeah.
a plastic one either. These metal ones are golden. And so it's worth the investment because here's the
And,
thing you'll feel
and
good about.
take your coffee cup to the coffee shop. Have
That's
them fill your
it.
coffee cup.
And spread the message. Be fantastic.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate the invite. We've got a lot to do.
Yeah.
We will spend our lives doing and then pass that on to others. We're going to
Got
hand
it.
the baton off. Looking forward to so much together, brother.
Yes. Have a fantastic day. Everybody be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be kind to Mother Earth, and we're going to have a bright future for everyone. Thanks for watching,
Everybody.
everyone. And be happy. This is the complete guide to happiness. Paul, you're fantastic. Keep it up, my friend.
Thank you, brother. Take care. Love you.